Dia Frampton, and I heard of her on a really great show called Good Behavior. It's kind of, it's pretty twisted, but one of the great things about there being good media out there is that I actually learn about new music. Okay, so we were starting. Okay, we talked about the Oscar. Okay, congratulations, Jordan Peele, for four Oscar nominations for Get Out.
Right on.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That was actually a good movie. I loved it.
Yeah. For best picture, best adapted screenplay, and best director, which they should get. Okay, because then the lead was nominated for best actor, and so which just misses the point. And to me, that would be okay if he wins. See, what I'm afraid they're gonna do is give him best actor, so then they don't need to think about the whole movie.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You think so? You think they'll try to just center it around him?
Well, look,
they seem like they're doing that now.
Well, they did. Well, they gave Christoph Waltz Best Supporting Actor for Django Unchained.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Well, because who would remember? I mean, his character was great, but it's not like you pick out. It's in a film like that. It's just not like you want to pick out his supporting actor. I mean, they should have nominated Samuel L. Jackson for supporting actor.
I would love that.
He could have gotten that.
He did a good job.
Oh man, him and Leo. That was like, oh man, Leo, you really showed me what you could do, Leo.
That was just, man. Ooh.
Yeah. And I haven't seen the other movies. Yeah. Hello, Julian Phillips. Are you there? Okay. I hope. Yeah. Come on. This is on. Okay. So that's the film stuff. So we've gotten to okay. What maps do we have up there? Okay. So we've caught up on Zimbabwe. Okay. So here's something that I've been interested in. We've talked about the Rohingya Muslims, the Rohingya who live in Myanmar and are being slaughtered. There's genocide happening there, and we talked about that. And they've been escaping into Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is taking them in. And the leader of Myanmar is Aung San Suu Kyi, who won the Nobel Peace Prize several years ago, but who hasn't done anything about it. And she does this thing, and like what I've learned is she's the leader, but she is the leader alongside the military, and the same military that kept her in prison.
Wow.
Yeah. So she might not be able to do a whole lot for the Rohingya, but no, she doesn't use the word Rohingya. And it's sort of like it's sort of like the issue with saying whether Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Names matter. Words matter. And like, I'm not equating the issue. I'm just using it as an example of how what you say can mean a lot. Because what I've learned is that the people, the Rohingya in Myanmar are kind of like the Palestinians. They don't have a state. What I've learned is that in Myanmar, their lives there was already, before the genocide and all of that happened, they had no rights. They weren't able to vote. Like basically they were living under under apartheid,
right?
Which many people there's people that consider that to be the situation of Palestinians. Some people consider that, some people don't. But you can also say that about the Rohingya, and I would really love to see some of the activists who are so all up about the Palestinians, like notice the Rohingya. So Aung San Suu Kyi says that there's no such thing, says like, well, they're not, she doesn't acknowledge them as people, as a, see again, this is our theme for tonight, okay, nativism, all that, I mean, how identifying nativist populism, nationalism, I feel like with a lot of this stuff, we're just like figuring out ways that people use those things to be racist. Another similarity between the Rohingya and the Palestinians is this isn't the case anymore. So there's Zionists who don't believe that the Palestinians are a nation, that they're people. And that used to be more common in the past, and there's reasons for that. People 50 years ago had excuses for that. People now don't. Like whatever you think politically and all of that, Palestinians consider themselves Palestinians, and other people need to respect that and not use it. And so, anyway, the Rohingya it's just similar, and it was interesting to me to see that. I wish that it being interesting to me could make more of a difference. But I mean, the Rohingya.
That's you don't hear a lot about.
Well, yeah, that's why you have me.
There you go.
Yeah. One of the things that makes the Rohingya in Myanmar so difficult for you people in the U.S. to think about is because the people doing the killing are Buddhists. Buddhists kill people, and people in the U.S. like to romanticize about that. Because the way. We're talking about how both the Democrats and Republicans can talk about the children's health insurance program to make themselves sound caring. That's kind of like how people in the U.S. can talk about the Palestinians in a way so that to make themselves sound caring, but actually act like assholes. There's a lot of censorship. And do you follow the Women's March and all of that?
No.
You have any friends on that?
No.
Okay, so, well, it's one of that kind of tells you something. Okay, so there's the Women's March. This past year there was a Women's March last year when Trump was inaugurated, and then there was. And I don't like marches and noises, and I don't like noise and crowds, so I'm not a marcher. It's not how I choose to express myself. But call it a women's march if you want, but I did not agree with protesting the inauguration, especially back then, since I don't feel you shouldn't. I don't think that you should protest something that happened.
Oh, you're talking about with the sexual harassment.
Pussy hats?
Yeah. I get you now.
Yeah. Well, there was that.
I do remember that.
Sure. Now. Okay. Well, there was another one a year later, like this past weekend. A lot of people I know were going. A lot of my women friends. There were people got buses together to go up to Sacramento to march there. There's a big march in San Francisco. And one of the things that happens in these marches is people within the marches start accusing each other of being racist, and which is just it's accusing people in a not constructive way. And there's that, and then another issue, there's been problems with women being kicked out. People tried to kick out women that wanted to march that were pro-Israel. Like, they were kicked. People tried to kick them out because it was felt that was anti-Palestinian for them to be Zionists and marching in the Women's March in the U.S. Yeah. This is what happens. So, I mean, and one of the marchers of the leaders of the march is named Linda Sarsour. She's in her late 30s, 30 somewhere. She's Muslim. She's raised in Brooklyn. She doesn't like Zionism, and she said some things that people don't like. And so, but then the Zionists, they try and silence her. They've tried to get her kicked off the march, and you see stories come up about, there was a story being spread around about some workplace thing that happened to her 8 years ago. And I just think it's an example of how destructive things can be. She has controversial views, and there should be a place for everybody.
I agree.
She should not be silenced, and she represents a lot of people. What she has to say is meaningful to a lot of people, and in order to make the march, if you're trying to make a march more diverse and inclusive, you need to bring in more people.
Right, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, march on, ladies. I cannot deal with discussions like that. But it's it's the same thing as, it's in the same realm as some of the people that are being blocked from college campuses and all that. I mean, it's just wrong. And I said, before I knew too much about her, I said, well, she's not hateful or inciting violence, she should be able to speak. And someone said, well, she said Zionism is morally bad. Well, she has the right to say that. I mean, and especially it's like the United States, and our world is so divided, and if somebody like her can be bringing in more people that don't, so everybody should be represented.
Right, exactly.
Yes. And I think, so anyway, I've been trying to tune it. Some of the talk that was going around this week has been, there's people that don't feel represented by the march, and, it's tricky. So, we had the Bayard Rustin Symposium 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I talked about, the beginning of that, of why I thought it was so important, is because of how the progressive movement is being held back by racism. And that's something that Bayard Rustin experienced. And so when we look at how he went through his life and his time, I mean, it's good we can see examples, and that's just so important. And after the symposium, I spoke with someone else about who's a member of the Stonewall Democratic Club, about how to make the gay Democratic Club, about how to try and make the club feel more comfortable to people. And yeah, so that was, I'm doing that in order to support a friend.
Right.
But I mean, it was good. I really wanted it to be an active thing. I wanted it to be something where people could feel closer going forward, and that always happens with things like that. And I'm really pleased because now there's other people now that I know where I can say, like, okay, well, this is like something that happened with Bayard, or a friend of mine was there who's on the board of the Humane Society where I volunteer, and there was just like drama and chaos there, and it's a non-profit, and that stuff's really crazy. And so I was talking with him last week and saying that the example of somebody like Bayard Rustin is that people gave him a really hard time, and he just kept going.
Right.
And he just, he was like kicked out of things and left out of things, but he kept going, and he didn't hold grudges. I mean, he was a really positive person. Yeah, so God, I know I've actually been going to some political meetings. I went to one called Women in the Pipeline, for women that are interested in running for office, to meet women that I can help run for office. It's like no, man, I'm about the last person in the world that would want to run for office. I'm a behind the scenes person. Because I mean that's what we have to do. We have to just get in there and start at the beginning, I guess.
Right.
And that, it's pretty. There were women that are pissed off at what's been allowed to happen to our leadership, and you need to get in. Run for city council positions, run for mayors, run for run to be the mayor and stuff like that. And because it's just, my God, we look at the fucking cabinet. I mean, okay, yeah. Yeah. See, the thing is, I mean, I really felt, again, I get slammed for this. I felt like, Mike Pence was making sense as far as State of Israel, except then, okay, they have this crap where the women journalists in the press pool were separated from the men journalists when Pence went to the wall to pray, because the Jerusalem wall, it's, the Orthodox religious fundamentalist people have a lot of power in the State of Israel, which is one of the big problems I have with the State of Israel, in which I think that they're real hypocrites. Like, yeah, they're democracy, but I think that for me, the power that the religious right has there really takes away a lot of that. And I think that well, in previous administrations, I thought that the U.S. should address that with Israel, but it's not like that's going to happen, not with them. Because I guess this is just so weird to me. It's just, because I just think, like, so what? Who cares? To me, like, why does anybody in the U.S. care whether Jerusalem is the capital of Israel? But fundamentalist Christians do, and that's...
They do.
Yeah, so, damn. I mean, that's what... We gotta be careful, because, okay, Trump's been in office for a year. His base still likes him. And when Obama had been in office for a year, people were already, and I'm not talking about the Republicans, I'm talking about the Democrats. There was still, like, there's this thing with the Democrats of like, not enough. That's what Obama was constantly getting, Democrats do not get, I think there's some real problems with I don't know, being practical, being loyal, or something like that. Because it's like, damn, okay.
I think being a president, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I just think
Yeah.
You just really have no major choices in situations, is what I think. I just don't get it. I mean, like I said, healthcare. Almost every other country is into this universal health care.
I know.
And to be honest with you, I've had people who were friends on Facebook who live in Canada, Europe, and my dad's friend, she moved out to Europe years ago to work for FedEx or something weird like that. And they like it. They said that the universal health care is the best. I've never heard from a person from another country say it was bad. Yeah. And I hear it from people here saying it's bad, but I don't hear nobody from these other countries. I never heard someone from Europe saying, "Oh, it's a lie, it's bad."
Yeah.
You know, I don't hear that.
That is good.
And I'm like, if they're happy with
because it's so tainted. Because we talked about this before. I mean, it's so tainted. Your experience of like the healthcare system is so tainted by the fact of like people hate being sick.
Right. I mean, they were talking about how in Europe they get like a month off every year. Like not necessarily a month, but it goes to like 28 or 30 days that they guarantee get off. Like it, you know, there's no problems with that. Whereas here, it's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Unless you got vacation time, you're lucky to get maybe you know, with all the actual holidays, you may get a week and a half.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So.
Okay, because here's, you know, because back with what we're talking about with the whole anti-immigrant xenophobes and, you know, white people in Ohio or Wisconsin or, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I mean, they're the people that feel like something's being taken away from them. And I was listening to some, you know, some interview with like a 30-year-old talking about how there used to be good manufacturing jobs and all that. I was like, no, there wasn't. What the fuck are you talking about? You're 30. It's like there weren't good manufacturing jobs. There haven't been good manufacturing jobs since you were a baby. Okay.
Right. They don't know. They're just listening to what their parents used to say.
Pathetic millennial.
But like we discussed before, I mean, you know, these people who live in like, let's just say, Iowa.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like. That's one thing I like about being grown in California. We got to deal with all different types of people, and we got to see a lot of different situations. They don't get to see that, so. When they see stuff on TV,
well, now they have, because they do have people coming here from all over the world now. But okay, here's something else I learned. You know how the Republicans talk about end chain migration, end chain migration, and the Democrats shriek about how that's breaking up families. Okay, do you know what it really means?
No, what does it mean?
Okay, chain migration means that people that you can get priority if you have family that's already come to the U.S., like not immediate family, okay? Like not the nuclear family. Like people can like, you know, like also, you know, can like sponsor brothers, sisters, parents, so they can come in.
Let's just say I brought someone from Africa here illegally. So I can like sponsor them? Is that what you mean? Like,
no, legally. Okay, because I mean, it's just so multifaceted, because it's like, okay, these people, you know, we have to try and deal with them, okay? And so I'm like, okay, you get the feeling like, okay, there's some of them that like, okay, you only want white people in your little world, like, okay, we need to try and deal with you, okay? Because there's different aspects of immigration, and what they're talking about is, okay, somebody comes over here, and then they could sponsor their brothers and sisters to come over, and then they can sponsor their parents and to come over. And that's really true.
But they still gotta go through the proper.
Yeah, but it means they go ahead. It means they're put ahead of other people.
Gotcha.
It means that more people are coming in that are already sort of their own little families.
Right.
That's what that means. And so when I looked at that, because then I was like, okay, wait a minute. That's like, so that means, because I'm like on my own in the world. That means that, like, hey, if I wanted to come here, that means that I would be behind people that have, like, brothers, sisters, whatever in the U.S. that already has a family, like, focused on bringing them here. It's like, well, no, that's not fair. So it's like, okay, well, that's legitimate. People, okay, if you need to, fine, just make it the nuclear family, okay, and then just make everybody else do the process, whatever that people are supposed to do.
Right.
I mean, that's not unfair.
No, it's not. It's not.
And that's something to, it's got to be negotiated,
Yeah. But the problem is with that, and I watched the documentary on it, and even if they did do it that way, it's not going to help as much, because a lot of the people in those countries, and let's just say Mexico, because that's the closest one we have, it's bad. They're going to try to get over here. For them, it's better for them to try and risk getting in trouble getting over here than it is for them to stay where they're at.
Well, those are like little mythical friends. We need to we need to make our own little because we've talked about Mr. Rogers on this show before. Hi baby, my daughter's hi baby. Okay, so we talked about Mr. Rogers, and I feel like we need to invent our own little white people's neighborhood in Ohio and Wisconsin or something, because what their problem is people from Africa more so. That's who they're freaked out about. Yeah. And I've worked with a whole lot of people that are communities that are African, that have come here from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Kenya, and that's what people do. They do they bring each other over. That's what my family did back in the day. That's always just been how immigration traditionally works. And so when politicians, the government needs to sit down and calmly figure out some of this. Right. You need to be able to negotiate some of that. So I'm like, okay, well, if they change that and then make it so all those people just need to apply on their own, then look at whether that's going to work. Because
but I think it's harder from other ends, from those other countries.
Well,
it may be a little bit.
Sure,
it would probably be easier on this end, less, but over there, they're corrupted. So for you to want to do something, you might give a cop. Let's just say you give someone $400 to do it. They might just take your money and say, "What are you talking about? You never."
Well, yeah, and that's what happens.
What kind of stuff happens
all the time.
to them. So some of them get to a point where they're desperate, where regardless,
they are.
They're going to come over here. That's what Trump don't understand.
But that's breaking things into. But it's such a big complex problem. We need to separate things into pieces, and I feel like, Democrats, stop buying into hysteria about blah blah, keeping families together, it's just ways for everybody to grandstand more. Look at that. Look at some. I feel like you need to do some tangible things in order for the DACA people to go on with their lives. I mean, that's not fair. That's just terrible. That's not fair. They've been wronged, and it seems to me that the Republicans need a bone, and they should get one thrown. They should get one thrown at them. Okay, so look at that. To me, that's like a tangible thing that you could do. So, and then, it sucks. I mean, to me, that's theoretically, then, if you take away that system, then you run into the problems of, the racism of our leadership that only wants people from certain countries.
Right.
That's so, okay, I feel bad because because I say things have gone to shit all the time. When I'll talk about how things went to shit in Liberia when Charles Taylor took over. I say things went to shit. I don't bash entire countries in that way, but they gotta do, they gotta do something for, Okay, so, man, I don't really feel like we're even that much closer to nativists and nationalism. Okay, because we've talked about that a lot. We've talked about Catalonia, as some of you guys know. Catalonia wants to secede from Spain, and then there's a piece of Catalonia that wants to secede from Catalonia. Okay, this is what happens. So that is still at a standstill. And this is different than U.S. states seceding. It's different because they have a different language and cultures and stuff. So I don't know. So that's interesting.
Kind of like how they're trying to make California its own country or whatever they were trying to do.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's not a separate country. We have the same languages. I mean,
I'm just anxious. Yeah, they mention it off and on. But
you
know what? They only mention it on Fox. I don't know if that means something. I've never seen it on any of the other ones, but it's always mentioned on Fox.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Then they also said they were going to cut California in half.
Northern and Southern?
I think that's how it was weird how they did it, though. They did it from a different kind of way. I can't explain it. If I saw the map, I would show you, but it was still kind of like where some of the southern states, or the southern areas, like if LA would still be with the northern. It's just, it was cut down the middle. It was weird. I was like, okay. But I guess what that's telling me is they think California's too big. So.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Kamala Harris has been killing it, man. I'm for Kamala in 2020. I've decided.
Nice.
I've been watching because you just feel like she could deal with anything. She's just she's like she's somebody I would want in like the nuclear room or whatever. She feels more competent to me than Obama ever did. She just has competence in the way of like, okay, she's just somebody I feel like you could just trust her to be calm and rational and clear-headed.
We'll see, man. Let's see what happens once she becomes, if she gets it becomes president, and it happens.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, like I said, it seems that way now because like a lot of them try to sell themselves, but
yeah.
That's a big step to.
Well, I've been watching her in hearings. I think she's just great. I think she's just great in hearings. I was watching her question the, question the Homeland Security officer. I feel so. See, this is what this fucking does, man. Because I just feel like, I kind of want. It makes me want to make fun of how the Homeland. There's this part of me that really wants to make fun of how the Homeland Security officer looks. Okay, she looks like a Barbie, and I'm like no, she's not this is okay. This is okay. I'm blaming the ugliness in the political system. I really try not to make mean personal comments, but
this is what your show's for.
Yeah.
The truth.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. Be back. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back in just